In the Generation 3 Pokemon games, if you beat Watson without picking up the Rock Smash HM, there's an NPC right next to the smashable rocks that'll tell you how to get the Rock Smash HM. This NPC is helpful, and serves to help the player escape a potential roadblock. Some NPCs offer hints, like that guy, some NPCs give you things, and others are more flavorful. Whether it's a small child talking about how they want to go on adventures when they grow up, or what the hell is a diet dance? This NPC introduces himself as the Bard. He appears in the Mauville City Pokemon Center and sings his song to you, with vocals that are oddly charming in their quality and how discernible they are. After listening to his song, you can change one of the words or phrases using the Easy Chat system, and he'll actually sing whatever word or phrase you replaced. Unless you picked Selphy, that one apparently doesn't work for some reason. The Bard isn't guaranteed to be here, however. Which NPC you get is determined by the last digit of your trainer ID. If the last digit is a 0 or a 1, you get the Bard, but if the last digit's 2 or 3, you get the Hipster, who will add a new word to the Easy Chat system. A last digit of 4 or 5 spawns the Trader, who will offer to trade secret base decorations with the player. 6 or 7 is the Storyteller, who I'll get back to in a minute, and 8 or 9 is Giddy. I don't think Giddy has a reason to exist. He just asks the player random yes or no questions. That's it. There's no reward for answering these questions, nothing changes based on your answers, you just answer random yes or no questions. This one's not even a yes or no question, but all we can answer are yes and no. As for the Storyteller, he's possibly the most interesting one of the bunch. He'll tell the player a random statistic about them, some of which are ridiculously specific. How many ledges the players jumped down, how many times they've used Splash, the number of times they've gone in the hot springs, even how many times the players checked the clock in their room. Just a bunch of things you wouldn't expect the game to keep track of. With the exception of Giddy, because of course he's the odd duck out, you're only allowed to interact with these NPCs one time each. Yes, this means you have the privilege of interacting with Giddy multiple times. But after you learn a new word from the Hipster, or trade with the Trader, for example, you have to mix records with another Ruby, Sapphire, or Emerald player. Doing so will send the NPC that's in your game to the other player's game, and you'll get the NPC that's in their game. Anything that happens, such as changing the Bard's lyrics, get carried over when mixing records, which is really neat, especially considering these NPCs were originally introduced in Ruby and Sapphire, games that came out in 2002. There are more NPCs that are altered by the player's trainer ID. At the southern end of Route 120, there's a girl who will give the player a berry once a day. Which berry she gives is determined by the last digit of the player's ID. 0 or 5 will net you a Feige berry, 1 or 6 gives a Wiki berry, 2 or 7 is a Mago berry, 3 or 8 Aguav, and 4 or 9 Ayapapa. These berries all do virtually the same thing in battle, so it kinda doesn't matter which one you get. However, the Wiki berry is probably the most helpful of the bunch, as it's one of the best berries for making a Pokéblock that raises Beauty, the contest stat for evolving a Feebas. There's one more group of NPCs that change based on your ID number, but unlike the rest, this group is only in Emerald. In Lilycove City's Pokemon Center, we'll once again find an NPC in the top left corner that changes based on their ID number, but this time, it's based on the remainder after dividing our trainer ID number by 6. A remainder of 0 or 1 gives us the Quiz Lady, while a remainder of 2 or 3 gives us the Favor Lady, and 4 or 5 causes the Contest Lady to appear. The Contest Lady wants Pokeblocks to boost the appeal of her Pokemon. However, you can only give her 1 Pokeblock, and she needs 5. So once you give her one, you'll have to mix records to send her to another game, just like with the guys in Mauville. The favor lady is similar. She wants to see an item, but you only get a vague description of it. She'll give a reward after seeing 5 items, but you're only allowed to show her 1 item before needing to mix records. There is one randomly selected item from the pool of items she wants that will immediately grant a reward, but it's pure luck whether it's the one you give her or not. The rewards aren't really even that great either, just one of the vitamins. Sure, they're pricey items, but is the work to get one from the favor lady worth it? The quiz lady is probably the most interesting one of the bunch. She'll ask you a question, and I gotta say, it took me a good minute or so to realize this stuff at the end was supposed to be a multiple choice type of thing. At first, I thought this was just random gibberish. If you get the answer right, you get a prize, and then you can make your own quiz. You can use the Easy Chat system to make your own question, give it an answer, and assign a prize. Then, when you mix records with another Emerald player, they'll get your quiz, and the cycle continues. One of my favorite NPCs in the entire series is in Pacifidlog Town. In the Northwest House, a man will ask you where you came from, to which you can answer yes or no. Wait a minute, this is just Giddy again. Unlike Giddy, however, the man actually comments on your response and how nonsensical it is. If you say no, he'll wonder if you're trying to say you were born in the sea, which could be a funny bit of foreshadowing to Manaphy, a mythical Pokemon introduced in the following generation, but I assume this is just a coincidence. On the east side of Sootopolis, we can find a pair of NPCs in one of the houses who want to see large Lotad and Seedot. This is one of the earliest instances of the Pokemon games having the size of a Pokemon be a mechanic, something that's much more commonplace nowadays. Anyway, if you show either of them a Pokemon that breaks the record on the back wall, they'll give you an elixir. This is also repeatable. Every time you set a new record, you get another elixir. Also, I have to point this out. The two of these guys are bickering about whether Seedot or Lotad are bigger. They're both the same height in the Pokédex. In Ruby and Sapphire, the pair want to see Barboach and Shroomish instead. Everything else I've said is the exact same, down to those Pokemon having the same height in the Pokédex. In FireRed and LeafGreen, we have some similar NPCs, but things get a little bit different. There are 2 of them, but one's on Route 12, and the other is on Water Path, found on 6 Island. The former will want to see Magikarp after he gives you the Super Rod, while the latter wants to see Heracross. Both of these have no initial record, so the first Pokemon you show them gets you a reward, a Netball for Magikarp and a Nest Ball for Heracross. And while we're in FireRed and LeafGreen, let's take a minute to talk about Selphy. After rescuing her from Lost Cave, Selphy can be found in her house on Resort Gorgeous. If you talk to her, she'll ask to see a random Pokemon that's marked as either seen or caught in your Pokédex. If you take more than 250 steps without showing Selphy the Pokemon she asked for, she'll have lost interest and ask to see a different Pokemon. If you happen to have the Pokemon she asks for, and return to her quickly enough, her butler Sebastian will teleport into existence and give you a reward. Which, can I just say, what the hell is up with this? Why does he appear out of thin air? Why do butler and lady only have the first letters capitalized when everything else in the Gen 3 games is either in all caps or all lowercase? Or all caps except for the accented E if you're the word Pokemon. Like, I'm not complaining, but it's odd that this is the only time in the Gen 3 games this happens. Jumping back to Emerald, if we go to the Battle Frontier and enter the Battle Tower, we can find the Apprentice. The Apprentice is one of 14 possible NPCs who seeks advice from the player, which can include what Pokemon they use, what item their Pokemon should hold, even what they should say when they win. You're basically helping to create a trainer, and once you're done with one apprentice, another will come and take their place. You're only able to answer one question per day, so it can take a week or 2 to get through any given apprentice, but this is pretty cool. You can even team up with your apprentice in multi-battles. Otherwise, they'll appear as a trainer that you fight in the battle tower. The final NPC I want to talk about is actually in Pokemon XD. If, and only if, you enter Mount Battle with a Mew in your party, this guy over here will appear and offer to teach your Mew some moves for 5,000 Poke Coupons. The catch is, you don't choose what moves Mew learns. You get asked a series of questions, and then you're given 4 moves out of a pool of 100 that he'll teach your Mew, replacing its entire moveset with the moves chosen. On top of this, 6 of the 100 moves the tutor can teach are moves that, at the time, could only be taught to Mew via him. Feint Attack, Fake Out, Hypnosis, Nightshade, Roleplay, and Zap Cannon. Since then, 4 of those moves have become teachable to Mew in other ways, leaving Fake Out and Feint Attack as the 2 truly exclusive moves. This tutor is actually really obscure, to the point where I can't find much in the way of info about how he works, other than what I just said. I've been doing some research, however, and I'm hoping I can make a video detailing all of the inner workings of this guy in the future, so be on the lookout for that. Until then, thank you for tuning in, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe even learned something new today. A big thanks to Mithril Monarch, along with the rest of my patrons on screen, for going the extra mile and financially supporting the channel. See you next time, everyone.